Fantastic. Hello. Hello. Oh, yes. Keep it going. Yay. Oh, yeah. Hello. Is everyone getting Spanish into their ears now? Can you all understand what I'm saying? So if I make the translator say something like, oogie boogie boogie, is she going to translate it? What if I say, Peter Piper picked a pepper? Can she translate it? Or are we just going simple stuff? Did she say something in Spanish that I won't understand? Okay. Who here has heard of ADHD before? This will take a minute. Are we going? This is the delay. It's weird. It's like I ask a question and it comes back a few minutes later. So I have ADHD, which you may notice by my pacing. I walk. I've worked in comedy now for 6 years, and I wear a Fitbit on my wrist, which counts sort of my distance, my steps taken. And my current record is one night on stage, I walked 11 kilometers because I have all this energy just pulsating through me at all times. If I make you motion sick, just fall asleep. That's what I do. So I'm here to talk to you about ADHD. Dan's going to be talking about autism later. We are both YouTubers. We've been traveling around talking about autism and sort of using it as a superpower, because I feel sometimes that, and I think some people in here will, is anyone, actually, before I start, anyone here on the spectrum? And this will come to me in a moment. No. We've got a few. There's one hand, like, me, just me. So the thing with ASD, autism, ADHD, is that in the media, it is perceived as something that is almost a disability, that holds people back from living a functional and normal life. But that is not the case at all, as Dan and I are currently in Spain, because we're talking about it. And we're talking about it in a way that we can sort of help people work their way through the, I'm going to swear, I'm sorry, the bullshit of it. And it's just, is everyone catching up? This is really difficult for me. I don't understand, because I'm used to like a reaction and a hand up, but like, I'm working. Dan, this is going to be weird for you.
Okay, cool.
So, with my ADHD, I have traveled the world. I've worked with YouTube. I've worked with Google. Dan and I have been everywhere doing everything. And our mission, our goal, our statement, our intent in the world today is to make sure that people with ASD, ADHD, any form on the spectrum doesn't feel like they're held back at all and that they can live a functional, human, normal life. Because some people see it as an abnormality. People like me and Dan, we see it as an upgrade, where some people are able to just handle a few things in their life. Dan and I have long lists of about 400 things we're doing at any given time. We work with YouTube, we do web design, we do cinematography, we do photography, we travel. We do so many things, and yet we are still perceived as being below, as if we are somehow unable to live these functional lives, which we don't like, which is why we do what we do. And Dan is the guy taking photos of me at the moment. You can all, yeah, he's really shy at the moment, so he's just like, I'll get to it, don't worry. They'll get me on stage eventually. So, if anyone here with ADHD feels like they have no kind of like friendship circle, you can talk to me. I will talk to literally anyone. I don't even speak your language, but we landed at the airport and I was like, hola, hello. Hello, that's all the Spanish I know, but I want to be friends with you. We should go for tea, a Jägermeister, or a beer. When we got to Spain 11 o'clock last night, yep. And the first thing I did was like, let's go to a bar and make some friends. And that's exactly what we did. We went to a bartender. He had no idea that we were English. He didn't speak English. We didn't speak Spanish, but we bonded on the fact that I wanted to give him money in exchange for a beverage. And unfortunately, you guys measure things differently to us. So when I thought I was getting one shot, he poured a third of a bottle into a glass, filled it with ice, and just gave it to me without any Coke. I was like, I don't want to offend you, so I'm just going to do this. And he was like, would you like another? Sure, why not? And we got lost. We got lost in your beautiful city. We had no idea what we were doing. The guy in the hotel gave us a map, but I can't read the map. It was more of a guide. He scribbled a line. If you go down this road and down this alleyway and 3 quarters down here and over here, past the square, say hello to the llama, then you're at the right pub. And that didn't make sense to me or Dan. So we were just lost in the city, and you were all so friendly, which is what we love. And if we had told people, by the way, we're autistic. Yeah. Sometimes people go, oh my God, get away. I don't want to catch autism. Ugh. And it's just not the case at all. Dan and I have traveled the world doing this, and I think our relationship shouldn't work. Our friendship is based almost exclusively on the fact we do these ridiculous things. Dan, OCD. He likes a list of things. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're going to do it, it has to be in the itinerary, the plan, his Bible. He has to follow it. Me, no. Dan is like, at 11:15, we have to go do a breakfast and this interview. And I'm like, Dan, that door is red. I'm going to go look at it. And I'm the guy who has to take him places. So like, I'm trusted to take him to other countries. That's why I come with him on these things. So I'm an idiot. He's got the itinerary. He takes care of me. He babysits me. All I do on an airplane, I tell him, right, we're now 20,000 feet in the air. Have a nap. Go to sleep. I'll wake you up when we land. That's all I do. And then when we land, I'm off. We bought skateboards.
We did.
We just separated. I was like, Dan, wait here. I'm going to go see if I can climb that building. And I went to climb it. I left him in a bar. It was just the most ridiculous thing in the world. But it's the most fun we've ever had in our lives. And it's because of what we have, what some people would call a disability, that we were able to travel the world and see these beautiful faces and that guy's light. And just talk about life. There are people in this room who sometimes feel, I guarantee you, someone in this room at some point has been sitting in their room thinking that they don't have a place in this world, that there is nothing they can do, that they can't make the friends, they can't retain a sort of a routine. With ADHD, I don't have a routine. I just go, Dan called me up and went, hey, do you want to go to Spain? I was like, I'm already at the airport. I'm already there. I've packed a bag. Let's do this. But if you're out there right now and you have an ADHD, you have ASD, you somehow feel like you do not belong in this world, I'm telling you that people like me and Dan will always back you. We've got your corner. We'll always be your friends. We'll always have time for you. And our cause and our mission is to somehow turn our disabilities in this world into a superpower so that we can unite a group of people, so that we can bring people together and just upgrade the world. There are people in here who will have a passion that they somehow feel is not valid. Me, when I was young, I loved music, not performing music. I loved the art of music and the mechanics of music. When I was 5, I took my father's vinyl deck. And when you put a vinyl on the thing and the needle scratches and the noise comes out, my brain was like, how? How does that happen? How does the needle going on that make the noise? So I took it to pieces. I just dismantled it. My dad was not amused. He made me put it back together, and it almost worked. It almost worked again. But that's the point. You don't know these things unless you try them. There's a passion inside every single person in this room that can be brought out that you somehow feel is against you and somehow holding you back. Dan's autistic. Dan needs everything in a straight line. And he turned that straight line into a career. Yeah. And then he got someone here who doesn't like straight lines. I like bends and curves and somehow hills and valleys. And this sort of weird symmetry that we have, it's not even a symmetry, it's just a complete chaos. And in chaos, you can find yourself. There'll be someone in here tonight who will go home and look at a vinyl machine and go, he's not wrong. I'm going to have to take that to pieces. How does that music work? And you're going to break it. You're going to break something. You're going to break a guitar, you're going to break a violin, you're going to break something. But that's what we do. We break things, and then we build bigger and better things. Some people see us as broken, as if there is something wrong with us, an abnormality. I think they're broken, and we are the ones that are just the better version of. If you put it back together, it works differently. It doesn't mean it doesn't work at all. It just works differently, sometimes better. And that's what we do. That's why Dan and I are on this mission. There is someone in this room tonight who is going to go home feeling a little bit better about it. That someone like me and Dan are out here and we get to travel the world and just say to you, every single person in this room, I'm seeing so many beautiful faces. I love this country. Can I move in? Has anyone got a spare room? I'm quite tired already, actually. I've been awake for 3 days. But there is someone in this room, I see so many people in this auditorium right now, and there'll be someone in here who doesn't feel like they belong. And I encourage you, after we're done, come and find us. We've got a translator. We'll talk to you. We'll talk you through something. We'll help you find something inside yourself that can be your next level. And if you want to find a superpower, we're going to help you do it. And probably the best case scenario of this superpower is my good friend Daniel Morgan-Jones. So ladies and gentlemen, can you please put your hands together for Daniel Morgan-Jones?
Nice one. It's on B-roll. Jesus, thanks. Cool. Hola. How's it going? This is going to be weird because the whole translation thing. So I'll go as slow as possible. I talk like really fast. But today I'm making a very good exception to not kind of go as fast so that the translator actually has a chance at telling you guys what I'm actually saying. So, thanks Alex for that bizarre entrance. Anyway, so moving on. Anyway, so I am Dan. I am the Aspie World. The Aspie World is my brand, persona, my personality, if you will. And I'll tell you about what I do. So I got diagnosed with Asperger syndrome in 2013, actually it was the 23rd of June exactly, but before this I was diagnosed like dyslexic, I had like agoraphobia, I was shy, couldn't read and write very well, didn't mix with his friends, was like, all this kind of stuff. And it took a while because where I live in the UK, it took a while for autism diagnosis to kind of come into that area, so it was kind of like a big mess. And so for years, I'd like been up and down, like trying different work, and it was all just all over the place. And you don't really know, unless you get your diagnosis, you don't know who you are, because you go forever thinking like, what is going on? Like, why can't I do these things that these typical people can do? And you think like, oh my God. So it was a big thing. But one of the things I'm passionate about is creating stuff and making things and being, I don't know, just getting excited about stuff. I'm excited to stand here right now and just do something and talk about this. And I decided that I'd had loads of skills. I'd made some videos. I'm a music performer. That's how I met Alex. We were performing music. So I'd been a performer. I'd made videos. I made graphics, digital graphics and web design. And I was like, well, what is all of this for? Like, what can I do with all these things I've learned? And the best thing I could do is make YouTube videos, because it's just people who like performing, making videos and making content for the internet, putting it out there. So I thought, okay. So I went on the internet and I was looking for Asperger syndrome information, and I did a Google and a YouTube check, because when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh my goodness, I'd never heard of Asperger syndrome before that point. Believe me, I didn't, and I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And so I went on the internet, typed it in, and I didn't find anything that was making me feel any better. Everything I was watching, this guy was like, oh, okay, Asperger syndrome, and I want to die. It was like, oh, God. You don't want to go on the internet and watch that. I felt worse watching these videos. I thought, God. So I was like, I want to make videos to make people feel pumped to be alive. Be like, yeah, I've got Asperger syndrome, but so what? Let's talk about it and have fun with it rather than being so depressed. So I was like, okay. So I uploaded my first video, and I just made this video. It was the worst quality video in the world, just chucked it up on the internet. And there it was. It was sitting there on the internet, and I'd left it for a year and a half, almost 2 years. I didn't do anything with it. And I checked back, I logged into the account, and it had like thousands of subscribers. And I was like, oh my goodness. And all these people were like, we need more content, I need more videos. I was like, wow, people want to see more of this stuff. So I decided that I would make more videos, and I did. And so I created the Aspie World. It was the worst name. Look at it. The Aspie World's the worst name ever, but it was stuck, and that's what the brand was. It was just this thing that I'd become, and it was like, okay. So I started to make more videos, and I got more and more subscribers, and the channel grew quite rapidly. And then I won an award that Alex was able to come and join in with me, called the YouTube Next Up Award. And what YouTube do is in every country where YouTube has a headquarters, they pick I don't know, what is it, like 12? Was it 12?
About 10.
About 10. So they take about 10 of the best YouTube channels that are between 10,000 and 100,000 subscribers, and they say, you guys are going to be the next big superstars on YouTube. And they supercharge your channel. They took me to London. They put us up in the Hilton. They bought me a load of gear, which is super cool. And then they teach you how to be a professional YouTuber. Honestly, this is God's honest truth. And so we went there and we did that, and it was crazy. And having this notability, my channel was actually #1. So basically, the big board of directors is a huge thing in YouTube. The CEO of YouTube even has to check all his channels, make sure they're the ones that they want to use. And so my channel was #1 every time. It was the first choice. It was crazy. So I was like, wow, this is something that I actually want to do. And I'll just tell everybody, I'm looking at my phone because, as Alex said, I like lists, and my list of what I'm going to talk about is here on this phone today. So this is why I keep looking at my phone. I'm not reading text messages or Facebook, But okay, so I'll tell you. And so in my channel, YouTube is the platform I'm currently using to produce content, and I'm currently at 27,000 subscribers, which is crazy. It's not an awful lot. I mean, it's not like 100,000 or 1 million subscribers, but it's a big amount of people who are interested in Asperger's specifically, because my channel is specific to Asperger's syndrome, autism, dyslexia, OCD, anything that comes comorbidly into into the spectrum, basically. And I find that amazing. And what I'm doing with the channel, and I'll just tell you guys, I've got a lot of topics to cover. This is just the first part of my channel. And what I'm doing with it is, this is one thing that doesn't happen in the UK. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Back in the 70s and the 60s, if you were a wheelchair user and you wanted to go to a supermarket or a mall, and there was just steps and there was no ramps, you'd be knackered. There was no way you were getting into that building. But, I mean, it's just ludicrous. If you think about it now, you think, oh my goodness, why wouldn't they make wheelchair access for anywhere? So wheelchair access is now a standard to actually go somewhere. So they make every physical disability, no matter what your ability is, physical, you can actually access things. That's a standard. It's a global standard. But with autism and neurodiversity, nobody seems to care about it. You go to Tesco and you go to the supermarket and lights are shining and there's people everywhere. You can't read stuff. People don't know if you're being funny or shifty, and security agents may come over and say to you like, "Oh, you're being a bit shifty. You're being a bit weird." I'm like, "Yeah, well, what the, because social boundaries and all this kind of stuff." So what I'm trying to do in my channel is build a force to be reckoned with, so I can take lead on political matters where I can install upgrades to stores, so making everything accessible for everybody. Basically, that's the idea, so that people with neurodiverse conditions can actually have access to these facilities. So that's one of the big things I'm doing, and we've demoed it. We did the National Autistic Society did a big campaign on it where we got shops to participate in an autism hour where they dimmed the lights and they did some other stuff and warned other customers saying, this is going to be a neurodiverse kind of hour. And it was really, really good. And that, to me, is so important. That so in 30 years' time, everything will be accessible for people on the spectrum, with no exceptions. It will just be a standard, a global standard, just like physical disability is now compared to how it was 30 years ago. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And yeah, so that's kind of what I do on my YouTube channel. So I'll just talk about, I'm just going to walk over here and press the, yay, so YouTube, hey. Everyone's heard of YouTube, everyone knows what YouTube is, and it's a fantastic capability. So YouTube is the platform I use. So the role, if you were to say, what do I do for work? What's my job? My job, a lot of people say YouTuber, but you're actually not called a YouTuber, it's a social influencer. So I use social media platforms to influence people. And, excuse me. The reason I chose YouTube over you got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these other social media platforms. YouTube has 1,300,000,000 active users. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think we go through about 57,000 years worth of watch time in I don't know, something like 2 months, which is amazing. Right? So that's a lot of data to be consumed. So I figured that YouTube was a great place to do this. And so another reason why I chose YouTube to use it as a voice to talk about Asperger's and autism openly is because it's an open access free-for-all. You can say it's a freedom of speech, because the guy who is the CEO or the CBO of YouTube is he used to live under the Iron Curtain in Czechoslovakia, and so he decided that it was a good thing to make a platform that was open and free for everybody at the point of access, that you could actually go on there, say what you want. Okay, it gets people into trouble, as we all know about Logan Paul, because there is no filter. You can put anything on it. But, they're getting better at it. But the idea of YouTube is that you can say whatever you want. And I think it's absolutely amazing. The only downfall with using YouTube is you get all those haters. But what do we do with haters, Alex? Dab all them haters, son. So that's what we do with haters. And you get them. You get haters everywhere. But you're never going to do it. So YouTube is, I would say YouTube is the #1 place for creativity. Now, my brand, The Aspie World, my merchandise is called Be Creative. And it's called Be Creative because I want people to be creative, because creativity is the key to success. We never did anything when we weren't productive, when we weren't creative. We don't move forward as a society. And I feel like people on the spectrum are way more creative than the average or typical person. That makes them a bit more kind of, superior in the way of creativity. So we are the people who will bring society forward. And so by engaging people in that idea to say, okay, hey, you're the person who's going to be something really awesome. And like Nikola Tesla, for instance. If Nikola Tesla hadn't have been born and he wasn't on the spectrum, he wouldn't have done all the amazing things that we now know of and the AC current and things. So it's knowing that being creative is one of the things. And YouTube promotes creativity. So this is why it's important to use this platform. The second thing, why I use this platform, third thing, I'm losing count here, The third thing I use this platform for is building a community. So I know from experience of being on the spectrum, having little to no community social interaction is weird, because you have difficulty with social interaction, but you want to make all these friends, and you're kind of chasing them around like the popular people. Come here, be my friend. And people are like, whoa, it's the weird kid, you know? So it's really, it's interesting that you strive to be, friendly with everybody, but then it doesn't really work that well. So what I try to do is build a community of like-minded individuals that can talk to each other and really engage with each other, so they can share ideas, they can give each other support. So I run, so my comment section is crazy, and this is a statistic that I get about 10,000 communications a month just directly to me, and that's without the people commenting each other on my comments. That's just to me, every single month. I can't get through it all, and that's emails and Facebooks and tweets and all this stuff. So the community is there, and all I'm doing now is I'm funneling it into a support group so people can go on there and they can talk and they can discuss and they can, I don't know, whatever they want to do, hang out and be social. Because again, it's one of the things that I feel a lot of people with Asperger syndrome are left out of, left out of social groups and whatever. And the last thing I'll say about YouTube, which is leading on to superpowers. Superpowers are super cool. It's a cool word, isn't it? Superpowers.
Superman!
So the cool thing about YouTube is it builds confidence, and confidence is number one. If you want to succeed and you want to have a superpower, you need to be confident. Just like this idiot over here. He is confident, and it's awesome. He gets to do amazing things, he's confident. And YouTube builds confidence because when you make a... When you make a video, when you perform, when you put yourself out there publicly, you come under this kind of a microscope where everybody will see it and people will say, well, you're either an idiot, or I believe what you say, or you're good, or they're going to give you hate. But the cool thing about it is you get confidence because you go, okay, I don't care about the haters. We can dab them all away. We can do whatever. But the cool thing about it builds you confidence, and that is why YouTube is amazing. Roll the next slide. Okay, so what to say? Inspiration. Okay, so let's talk about inspiration. So this is leading up to superpowers. So inspiration. So I like to be inspired by people. I used to actually work for a company called Inspired Gaming, and we used to fix gaming computers. It was a rubbish name, but I like to be inspired by people. And people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they inspire me because they don't say, oh, do you think I could? They go, hey, I'm going to try and do something amazing. No, I'm going to do something amazing. And inspiration is not like listen to this guy talk about how cool the world is or how many kind of like pebbles you can put in this jar. Forget all that nonsense. Inspiration is where you say, wow, some guy put a car into space. We're at a point in our society where you can just put a rocket into space with a car in it, forget about it. Why? Just, why not? And that is inspiring for the fact that he can do it, and if he can do it, anybody can do it. And this is something I tell a lot of people. I do a lot of talks trying to get people motivated to do cool stuff. And one of the things I always say, I say to people like, what are you doing? I'm working in a supermarket behind the counter, or I sweep up, or I do something really dull and in their eyes boring. It's not stimulating for them. They could be on the spectrum, or they could be. I was like, what would you like to do? How would you want to spend your days? And they're like, oh, I want to paint stuff and build bridges and all this kind of rubbish. And they say, I said, why don't you? And well, somebody else has already done it. And they see that people who have been creative, like people who build bridges, Nikola Tesla, Bill Gates, people who do amazing things, they feel like they are a step away from them, but they're not. They're just like you and I. There's no difference. And in actual fact, they're probably more closer to you than you ever thought of. If you looked at their autobiographies, look how they live their lives, they're just normal, average, typical people. But there's one thing: they did not let their insecurities eat away at them. They stuck to inspiration and said, I will, not I might try or I can't be asked. They said, I will. So here's a story, here's a personal story about inspiration. This might inspire you. Okay, cool, this is a cool story. So, my cousin, his name is John. He is he's 71 years old now, but when he was 69 years old, he decided he wanted to get into bodybuilding. The guys that look great. And he was like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And I was like, okay. And all his life, when he was about 15, he was like, I want to be a world champion bodybuilder. And then he grew up, he had kids, he worked, and all this kind of stuff. And it fell by the wayside. And he was 69 years old, and he's like, I want to be a bodybuilder. So he started bodybuilding. And everyone's like, dude, you're ready to die. You're not going to win this competition. He's like, So he did it. He won the local competition, and then he tried harder, and then he won the general kind of the nationals, I think they call it. And then he won the European title, and they said, hey, why don't you try out for the tryouts to go to the world competition? So he did the tryout and he failed. And he was like, oh, that's it. I'm going to give up. I didn't get it. I got I didn't even get to go to the world. I couldn't even compete, let alone win the bugger. So he was like, fine, I'm going to give it up. And then his brother said, no. Why didn't you just give it one more try? And he said, okay, I'm going to try it one more time. So he was 70 years old. And he was like, I'm going to do it. So I spoke to him. I said, how do you feel? He goes, I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do it. I said, dude, you're 70 years old. You're up against everybody in the world. And this guy, we come from a very small town in Wales, which is like right up by the Irish Sea. It's like in the middle of nowhere. And he was like, I'm going to do it. So there he did it. He won the nationals, won the locals, did all the other competitions, got up to the European ones. And then they invited him to go to Miami to take part in the world competition. So I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So up he goes on the stage, he does this thing. And I'm sitting there watching this thing, and I could see, when I spoke to him, he looked at me and said, I will go there, and I will win the trophy. And I thought, well, that's determination. So he went there, and he did it. And then he comes on stage, does his stuff, and they call out the winner, and I almost fall over because the winner is my cousin. He won the World Bodybuilding Championship for his age range, and it's amazing. So he is now the World Bodybuilding Weightlifting Champion, or whatever you want to call it, in his age group, and that was my cousin. And I was like, wow, this guy is my new hero, because not only did he prove that age is just a myth, I can't do it, I'm too old, or I can't do it because I've got extra page, or I've got kids, or I work a full-time job. None of that stuff mattered. He said, no, I'm going to do it, and I will do it, and he did it. And that, to me, is inspirational. It's absolutely fantastic. Just like the Pursuit of Happiness movie, I don't know if you're familiar with it, with Will Smith, where he's really down on his luck. The story of Chris Gardner, he's really down on his luck. He's trying his best to do stuff, and he's getting worse and worse luck, and he stays up all night revising, working this internship, and he ends up becoming this like multi-millionaire. I need some water, which is no, it's some clean water. Is this mine? Is this yours?
Probably.
Okay, I'm just going to drink some water. Bear with me.
You sound great in Spanish.
Oh, I do sound great. Oh, that's good. Okay, so where are we? I'm going to go on my list
Sounds
now.
really feminine.
Cool. Yeah, that's because it's this guy. So. Okay, so it's all down to one thing and one thing only, and it's the inspiration is one thing, but the doing it and achieving those goals is down to focus, and focus is the number one. Like nothing else matters. Focus is everything, and one thing that I believe people on the spectrum are really into is focus, and I need to put that, and I'll talk about it in a minute. And basically, I did this. This is something you guys can take away. I wanted to share this with you guys, just a little bit of a takeaway. Is that I get a lot of questions a lot of the time from people who are on the spectrum, and they say, oh, I've got a job interview, or I've got an exam, or I've got to go and meet somebody's parents or something. They've got to do some interaction, and they feel really kind of self-conscious about it and shy about it, and they feel really kind of like, I don't know, they're all shook about it. They don't want to go and do it. And they say, any advice? I say, yeah, this is number one. You guys can do this anywhere. If you do the Superman pose before doing anything, this will make your brain believe that you are the coolest dude in the universe. And by doing that, it makes your brain engage in a way that you've never done before. It gives you confidence instantly dispels confidence. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go and smash it, man. I'm going to go in, I'm going to win this interview. And that is how you do it. And it's a nice little takeaway. Always remember this. I just wanted to share it with you as a confidence build thing. So, Alex, last slide, please. Here we go. Stop goofing about. Where are we now? Right, okay, so autism is my superpower. And why is it my superpower? Because when I stopped, and these are real life stories, this is what I have done as me. These are all real stories, and I'll tell you now. I was always trying to do stuff, and I always felt like I was incapable of doing it. Like I could never do that because I'm not a super famous rich guy, or I could never, do something because I'm inadequate, I've got Asperger syndrome, nobody's going to be able to believe me, I can't look some people in the eyes, There's a bunch of issues that I have. And so I decided one day, no, I'm going to change all that and see if I can do it. And it's kind of like when you put your mind to something and you put that focus out there, you can achieve things. And okay, so this is the first thing I did. I wanted my band, I play music, and I wanted my band to have a CD in Japan because Alex actually was in a song that got to like #1 in Japan, I think. And that was kind of cool. So I was like, dang, I want to do that, So I said, right, I want to release a record in Japan. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I knew nobody in Japan. I don't know anything about it. I was just like, what am I going to do? And so I did. I researched and I looked and I focused my energy on Japan, and then I found a label that were really interested in my band. We released the record in Japan. It got to #5 in the newcomer chart. It was amazing. It was right there next to like Blink-182 and Green Day. It was like the weirdest experience of my life. But I did it. And I was like, wow, when you put your mind to it, you could do anything. So then I was like, and this is when I was in my, how old was I, Alex, when we did the Japanese thing? Was I 27, 28?
Old enough to party.
I was old enough to party. I think I was about 28 when I did this. Then I was like, oh man, I never did any good at school, you know? Having an autism spectrum disorder back in the 90s, being in high school just didn't mix well. And thanks for you taking pictures?
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, having an autism spectrum disorder in the 90s didn't really mix very well. So I got no qualifications, absolutely nothing. And I was like, I'm the worst academic in the world. I've got nothing. So I was like, what do I want to do? I like science. I love science. Never really engaged with it. Let's do it. So when I was 27 or 28, I enrolled in an access course and realized that I was the best person in there who could do maths, which surprised even myself because I've been rubbish at maths to this point. Then I got a place in a degree doing chemistry, and I just graduated last year with a bachelor's degree in chemistry, which is just incredible. So again, I was like, how can I do something that I've never done before? And I'm never good at academia, so I was like, I'm going to do it. So I did it. I focused my energy, and I did it. And then so this is another thing. And these are all true stories. I'm not lying. You know, this is real. I was like, I've never had a book out before, right? I never released a book. And you know, people release books all the time, and they're always really cool people. They're always very like intelligent and intellectual. I can't even write. I have dyslexia. I'm so dyslexic that I can't even read my own handwriting. And this is a true fact. I mean, I write things, and I'm like, dang, I don't even know what So I was like, I want to release a book. And it was always there, I want to release this book. So I did. In November just gone, I released a book, and it got to #1 in 4 charts. So I got a bestseller in the UK 3 times, and I got a bestseller in the US 1 time in 1 chart. So I'm an international best-selling author. My book's been translated to Hungarian and Italian, and we're working on some others. Soon to be Spanish. And I did it, and I was kind of, again, I focused my energy. Another one was that I'm in the middle of doing something, so I wanted to share this with you guys. So my channel is currently has 27,000 subscribers. What I do on YouTube, 27,000 subscribers. And I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. I don't know why, it's just kind of like a goal. I just thought, could I do it? Can I do it? Can I build this thing to be massive? Maybe. So I decided, and when I put my mind to it, when I decided to put my focus into building a channel, because the Aspie world had been growing and just being there, you know, in the moment and being a channel that's steadily growing. I released a video. I focused my energy on a video, and I released this video, and I spent ages and ages and ages planning it. And the video, within 1 month, got like 219,000 views, which is huge. And it actually brought another 10 to 15,000 subscribers to my channel. It chucked it right up. So again, this is what I'm in the middle of doing right now, is building my YouTube influence. And again, it's putting focus. So I need some more water. Cheers, there we go, see? It's the weirdest glass. So, with that, I just wanted to say that if everybody puts their focus into the thing that they are best at, everything can happen. You know, I have people come to me and they say, oh, you know, and this is really common. They say, oh, I've got Asperger syndrome and all I'm good at is playing games. I say, well, what do you mean all you're good at? I mean, you're good at playing games. I really like video games, and I'm really into video games. I'm like, that's an awesome thing, because you could be a video game tester, you could be a video game developer, you could be a consultant for video game companies. And it may sound stupid that, like, how could I ever be a video game tester? That sounds like the worst job in the world. But I tell people, well, what do I do for a living? I make videos for a living, you know, like videos I put on YouTube. It costs me nothing to make, and that's my living. So it's trying to get people who are on the spectrum to realize what they're good at, and using that focus to then focus themselves in that direction. Because when you can do that, you're able to beam like the sun. And there's no exceptions. There's absolutely no exceptions. A friend of mine who has Asperger's syndrome, his name is Patrick, and he was like just in this exact position. He was like, oh, do you know what I can do in my life? I can't work, you know, typical jobs, can't do office work. But he was really good at video games. Like, he loves video games, like most people on the spectrum. And he was like, okay. So now he works for Nintendo. He tests video games. It's really cool. He sends these pictures to me. He's like, oh, look what I just got. He gets everything brand spanking new. You know, it comes to his house, all these boxes, all these video game consoles. I'm like, dude, this is like, and that's his job. You know, like he feeds his kids on this job, and it's amazing. So you have to not think about, like Alex was saying before, you don't think about autism as like a disadvantage. You think about it as an advantage. What is it that you're really good at? And this is an example where I found that it took flight. And I was talking about this today I did an interview with some ABC, I can't remember what it's called. What's it called? ABC, the magazine? No, ABC. Anyway, well, it was good. It was a good interview. And they asked me, like, oh, what's an example of how you used your issues as an advantage? Well, I get really hyper-focused on things. And in chemistry, when we were doing my degree, there's this thing called balancing equations. I don't know if anyone's into chemistry or science, you know ionic charges, you balance these charges. And basically, you have to draw out this huge table and do it, and it takes such a lot of time, and loads of people kind of really engage with it, and it takes them, and it's a real struggle for them. But for myself, I just looked at it, and I go, okay, I can balance it. And even to the fact that, and this is what I said earlier, is that when the professor was teaching us a lecture, he was talking to us about ionic charging, and he's like, oh, look at this beautiful equation on the board. I said, well, it's wrong. And I pointed out, I was like, you balanced it wrong, so I rebalanced it for him. And he was like, oh my goodness, he was so shook, it was incredible. But it was because I focused the thing that I knew I was good at on something, and put it into play. And that, to me, is knowing that you all have a superpower, and everybody who's on the spectrum has a superpower, but you have to make that superpower a focus, and that focus then becomes reality. But one thing I will tell you, this is another takeaway. If you want something in life, if you want to do something, if you want to be somewhere, you make it a reality by visualizing it. And this is how I do. This is exactly how I do it. I get a big piece of paper and I stick the pictures of things. Like, say I want to buy a new car, right? Or I want to get 100,000 subscribers or sell a million books of my book. I'll put a picture of it and I say what I want on it and I smack it onto this big board and I put the board on a wall in my office and I look at that every single day and I look at it and I look at myself in the mirror and say, Dan, today you are going to do that exact thing and you will do that. And it's amazing how much you can push yourself in the right direction when you just believe in yourself and you actually put that focus on you. So with that actually draws my small presentation to an end. And I think we should open it up to questions, if that's okay. Can we open it up to questions? Cool. But I think I'll need to put this on because I'm not going to know anything.
Hang on.
Oh, here we go.
I got you.
What? Hold on. Is this working?
Back it on. Yep.
Is it on?
Put it on. Is it one or two?
Oh, yeah.
Is it English or Spanish?
English.
English. English, cool.
Is it on English? Cool. Okay, so what do we do now? Do we wait for...
Who is that? Who is that? Who is that?
This person here.
Hola, what's your name?
Maria. Cool.
Everyone's
Nice.
name's Maria, apparently.
Okay, so I actually worked with Netflix on the Atypical. So basically, they contacted me and they wanted me to review what their kind of how they did Atypical and stuff. And it was really weird. They gave me access to like an early bird console to the first draft content they made. And so I told them where they'd gone wrong. So basically, they won't change it in this season, but they would change it in the next one, and there will be a next one. So that's kind of how it works. And you know what I told them is I haven't seen The Good Doctor. I know it's British as well, but yeah. So apparently it's very good. I mean, a lot of my fans watch it, but I haven't seen it. But I did see Atypical. Obviously, I had to. They paid me to do it now. But I watched it and I told them what was wrong. And basically, what I said to them, and maybe you might relate to it, is that they gave this young man every single symptom they could think of. They just piled it on. So it was over the top. It was too much. It was like he had every typical symptom. And it was like, well, how does this guy get out of bed? And it was like, okay, I get it. And they were trying to show a balance between it. So I said to them, look, why not use a case study of a person who has autism? And that's what they're kind of going to do. They're going to kind of wean back a little bit and get that individuality in rather than kind of this basic stereotype. And one of the other things is a lot of people were bitching and moaning, saying, oh, there's nobody in there. There needs to be autistic actors in there. And this is something I'll say. This is quite an interesting thing to talk about. Well, there is an autistic actor in Atypical. His friend who comes over and they talk about girls and stuff in his bedroom with the long hair. I think he's got long hair. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he's actually got Asperger syndrome, the actual actor. But one of the things I say is that people say, autistic people should be playing autistic people on TV. I said, yeah, but autistic people play neurotypical on TV. Does that mean that you wouldn't allow an autistic person to play a neurotypical character? So you have to give them the benefit, the fact that, well, look, it doesn't matter what their abilities or disabilities or advantages, disadvantages are. It could be any actor, whoever gets it, and regardless of that, it shouldn't be seen like that.
I'm still listening to you in Spanish.
Okay, cool. I hope that answers that question. Hope that answers that question for you.
And on the good doctor, I'll fill on the good doctor. With the good doctor, do not take that as how medicine works in Britain. It is it is an accurate-ish description and sort of case study of autism in that area, but medically, no, just not happening.
Cool. So have we got next question?
Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo.
I feel everyone's watching me. No.
Kiss me.
No. Again?
Fucking hell. Aww.
Okay, so I kind of realized that I had, well, my superpower, when I realized my potential was when I think it was probably when I first did something with the band, when I was making music and I wanted to make it a realization. And this is how it happened. My band hadn't done anything before. And you know when you're young and you watch musicians and they're on television, you're like, I want to be on TV because when I'm on TV, you got to be this guy that's made it. You know, you can be signed to a record deal. And we signed a deal straight away. I focused my energy. I thought, what if I pretend to be a band manager? Why don't I focus my energy and pretend to be a band manager? And I managed to strike us a deal with Sony, and a Welsh label, and also a big American label and a Japanese label. But when we signed just before we signed to Sony, I pretended I was this label executive, and I phoned up a TV show, and I was like, yeah, you know, I got this band, and they got this music video, and I want to put it out there so everyone can see the music video, and they said, okay, cool, that's cool, it's cool. So they did that, and it went on TV, and it was on Kerrang television, which is like this kind of alternative rock channel on Sky Digital. And it went on, and that was the first time I thought, wow, if I focus my energy on things, you can do anything, absolutely anything. And I seen myself on TV, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. You know, kids coming up to me in the street like, oh, you're the guy, and that was crazy. So I was about 20, roughly about 20 years old, because before that, you know, up until year 16, it's a hard time because you have to put all your effort on school, and schooling drags you quite down if you haven't got adequate support. And so after that, you get kind of like, hey, I can do what I want. I can stay up late and eat pizza every day. And you get a bit of be cocky and weird, and every teenager goes to the stage. But then after that, when you get to about 20 years old, that was when I realized, oh, I could do something, and I can focus my energy. So I hope that answers that question.
For me, it was much earlier that I realized there was something different about me. So part of my brain does not communicate with my body very well. So I am positive all the time, and I'm like always happy. I'm always at 110% energy. Like I genuinely do not feel sadness, stress, or anxiety. And most people think that is the superpower inside me, which is it's not. It makes it quite difficult to understand hard situations. Funerals, never invite me to them.
Well, isn't it Twinkie eating your superpower?
Twinkie eating is also my superpower. I'm a great eater. So I was always at such a happy, sort of energetic, like at all times. And my parents realized very quickly in me that I just didn't get sad. Like if I was bullied at school, and I would come home, and they were, oh, how was school? A guy punched me in the face. Like, why? I don't know. It was a nice day. And I'm sure he has his other things going on. So I never felt the anxiety or the stress, and it had ups and downs, so I was always able to sort of find joy in the world. But at the same time, I went through an incredibly traumatic experience, and my body was deteriorating a little bit. I was losing a lot of weight. I've gained it now, you may have noticed. And my brain was just sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, da-da-da-da. But my body was falling to pieces. So it was about... must have been 18, 19?
You were 19, yeah.
Yeah, I was 19 when I realized that my brain and my body were not sync-compatible, or whatever the word is.
Like
it was just, they just weren't talking to each other. And I've managed to find a balance now, so empathy I now fully understand more. I'm able to understand emotions deeper than some people are in the atypical world. So, neurotypical. I just enjoy the world, and some people see it as a superpower. I learned very quickly to find joy in everything. And yeah, it must have been about 18, 19 when it fully clicked that I was not normal. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Next question. We did. Next question. Oh, hands up.
Oh, geez, she's appeared from under a desk.
Also,
that's where my bag is.
Where your bag was.
Oh, I see.
Where's that skateboard?
She's riding. Oh my! She just wheeled past.
Yeah. There they go.
Whoa!
It's like
I'll just moonwalk just for.
Okay. Sure.
That's all right. We'll wait. We've got nothing going on.
We need to make sure we know who has it as well. So raise your hand. Yeah. I'll take this one because I've had this quite a lot, and actually. I used to work with a key worker, like a social care worker. He used to come and see me every single week, and he had the same phenomena where if I was sitting down in a cafe and he came up to me and started talking to me, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? But then I couldn't do it. But when I'd been a musician for years, when I was 15, I was rocking out with this guitar, we were playing in bands and stuff. I'm like, I'm this rock hero. And you become this persona, and you take on a persona of somebody.
Welcome to the Spectrum.
Yeah, woo!
We like everything in order.
Well, and when I realized that, I could put on I become a personality, like acting a role of a rock star, or acting a role of this guy. And when I did that, I realized, hey, this is how I can publicly perform. Because I am nervous as heck when I go have to do anything. I can't even buy, ordering a pizza over the phone. I'm like, hey, I do everything online. I can't shop. I do all my shopping online because I can't go to counters and talk to people. It's quite intimidating. It's difficult. But when you perform in front of people, you become a different person, and that person becomes this confident persona, and that's how it works. So you don't think of yourself as you think about and I look at myself and I say that I'm going to be this, I'm going to be Dan, the Asperger world is going to be that person, rather than, Dan, this guy sits in his room and bounces equations. So you're right, I think it's a difficult boundary to cross over when you realize that you can do that and become a personality, or become a persona. It becomes easier. And honestly, I've met loads of autistic actors, and they have the same issue. So I hope that answers that question, whoever answered. I don't know who asked the question. But.
Yeah, who asked that one? Whose question was this? Hola.
Cool.
Okay, for me, I have ADHD, so I am continually, my world is a stage. I don't need this. Out there, I'll be like, the world is mine! So I was born, and there were trumpets going off, glitter. It was a real event.
A lot of people cried as well.
So I'm the counter to Dan. I find it more difficult to not be this. I find it difficult to be quiet.
Meek and, yeah.
I find it difficult to sit in my room alone and go.
But I think that kind of shows the areas of the spectrum as well. So you have kind of ADHD. How it is different or indifferent. But
in the topic of something we're not fully aware of, I've been doing stand-up comedy now for years, and we have something called stand-up without a net, which is something which all comedians practice in some comedy clubs. So say we had this up there, the audience would just write words down and put them in a hat, and the judge would suddenly make a sentence with them, and the sentence would be, can alpacas climb trees? And you'd have to think very quickly and make a speech, a joke, about 10 minutes on can alpacas climb trees.
Well, can they?
Well, in my joke, they could. So being able to just absorb an information, absorb a sentence, there it is. And then my brain just Googles. My brain is just full of information. Because at some point, I'll have learned about llamas or alpacas, and I'll be able to go, yeah, they don't have a very good spine. They can't chew with their top teeth. I'm going to make a joke out of that. So it's a case of being able to just speak with the confidence.
It's having that persona, isn't it? Because it's Alex the comedian or Alex the guy. But again, you can't switch that off. So I think it's kind of it's a good thing. Well, I hope does that answer the question? I hope it answers the question.
She can't then speak back to us in Spanish. So is there any more we can elaborate? So if I said to you right now, tell me about a Nissan Micra from 1997. Go!
Okay, it existed.
Yeah. So you haven't got the information, but for me, I'll be like, well, in 1997, this album came out, and that was the influence for this car. They built the engine out of cheese, and the wheels are entirely made of macaroni. Hope that answers your question. I'm going to the bar. So I will just answer it. So I will, even if I don't know, I will just go. I'll be I'll go until I find a sentence.
It's about confidence as well.
Until a nod there. She nodded, and I was like, okay, spaghetti for wheels. Okay, let's roll with this. I'll tell you about spaghetti. And then, so I'll just keep going and keep going until I see, oh, you've nodded as well. You nodded at that word, so I'll keep going. So I'm not necessarily knowledgeable on everything that's ever existed in the entire world, but I'll say something until someone reacts. And then when they go, I'll stop talking about it, and I'll go to the other person who nodded. And I'm like, you nodded. Blancmange. You like blancmange. So it's difficult to address things that you are not fully knowledgeable on. And if you came to a speech or a lecture or a talk about someone who was talking about Nissan Micras from 1997 and we knew nothing, I would get a refund, my friend. A refund. Get your money back.
Yeah. Oh, so, right. Next question. Has it got any more questions? Oh, here we go.
She stands up.
We can see it's weird. We can see this Black Mirror stuff going on. Wait, that's weird. That's a Netflix show. Anyway. Here we are. I can't hear anything.
Doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. I can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody can hear you, Alex.
La-da-da-da-da.
I feel like we're waiting for a bus. Like we're doing a play. Here comes the monologue.
Oh God, here we go.
Okay.
That was you?
So, yeah, was your question?
It was your question.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so...
Do you have a YouTube channel? Are you a YouTuber, or are you just curious? But...
No, that's okay. No, don't ask questions. That's good. Okay, we'll answer. Okay, so in answering the question, when I first started doing YouTube, I was bad at it. I was bad at it because I didn't have much confidence in it because I hadn't done it before, and it made me really scared to put videos out. I was like, ooh, am I going to put another video out? How can I do it? And I was going to get judged by people, and it was really it's an interesting experience because you go from being somebody who's very, very private and always been very private. And not really having like massive social groups, don't go out and party, you're not really seeing in photos on the internet, and then all of a sudden, you splashed over the internet with like millions of views on your videos, and loads of people know what you look like, who you are, even stop you in the street. That was quite interesting. I get stopped in the street a lot, like kids coming up and want to take pictures, and it's weird. It's weird. I kind of try to embrace it, and there was always this thing, embrace what you can't ignore, because like if you embrace it, it's easy. If you start ignoring it, it makes everything worse. So YouTube was difficult to start off with, but you kind of get used to it, and it was a learning curve, I guess. It was something that I had to get used to. So, but it is difficult. But I'm glad you enjoyed this lecture. But anybody who does anything in the public eye, you're going to get scrutinized. And this is an example. I was on television in December. I don't know. When was I with Piers Morgan on TV? November?
No, it was December because after your
right. So December just gone. I was on national TV in the UK with a guy called Piers Morgan. He's a horrible bloke, and he was interviewing me on his TV show. And we sat there in the morning show. It was live on TV, and that goes out to, I don't know, maybe something like 5 to 7 million people.
Yeah.
And you just kind of forget that it's gone out to that many people, and you just go whatever. And it only really hits you when afterwards you see all these comments on Facebook. And this is true. Somebody said, "Hey, he didn't look Piers in the eyes. He's got no respect for him." And I was like, yeah, but so they didn't say beforehand, hey, this guy's got Asperger syndrome. We can't really look at this guy in the eye because it freaks him out, and otherwise he'll be in a mess. But you kind of, and so I read that, and I can take it two ways. You can either read it and go, oh, I'm not going to do it again because I'm going to be scrutinized and people are going to think I'm an idiot. Or you can just go, hey, do you know what? Dab all those haters and get on with the next project, because the small people aren't important. What you're doing is important. And the work that I do with YouTube, I feel is important, and people kind of respond to it very well. Obviously, 27,000 people do. I'm almost hitting 2 million views on my videos, so it's a pretty...
I feel there's a slight undertone, like he wants to be a YouTuber, but is trying to struggle to find a way. The important thing to think about if you are wanting to make a YouTube channel is to know that the first 50 to 100 videos you make are going to be the worst thing you ever make in your entire life.
100%.
Until you find your voice and what you are and what you want to do, the only learning curve you can possibly get is pressing publish. That's it.
Practice makes perfect, and it can't get any better than that. You look at my first video, you go on my YouTube channel, and the first video I put up was horrible. I mean, like bad lighting, I used an iPad to film it. I mean, I knew nothing about cinematography. But now, like after doing it, I've made thousands of videos, and after doing it again and again, you refine your product, and the refinement gives it like a good quality. And it's just, you have to keep doing it, like Alex said. You've got to go and just do it. And one of the things people are scared of is press and publish. They don't want to put it out because they go, oh, am I going to be, so what? So what? You know what I mean? Just put it out. And
so what, weed smoker 420 # dab. It says, your video sucks. Like, are you going to stop?
Yeah, who cares? Who cares? So,
I don't know.
Anyway, next question. No, I hope that answers the question. Is that good?
DVD.
Cool. We got any more questions?
It's fine. Our flight's on Monday. We can crack on for ages.
I got to say, I didn't. Okay, this is an interesting one. I don't know who asked this question.
Yeah, whose question is this?
Show of hands. Okay, so I didn't. I would say that primary school was one of the most awful times in my life. It was very horrific. It seemed to last 10 billion years. I had no support. I sweat and cold every time I go into the school. It was horrible. I actually stayed indoors. The school teachers actually left me in the classroom when they went out to social trips with the kids because I couldn't do anything. It was crazy. So I didn't have any support in primary school, horrible. Parents didn't know what it was. They just thought it was being weird, so they try and force you into those kind of, you have to do it, all the other kids do it. It was horrible, horrible. So couldn't overcome a barrier. So this set a tone when I got to secondary school, the same type of thing. And the tipping point, right, was music. I'd never played an instrument in my life, and somebody said to me, Jake actually, a friend of mine, Jake, he said, do you want to play this music? And I said, I've never played an instrument in my life. He said, well, learn, you've got 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, and I did. I taught myself to play guitar in like 3 days. I was like, bang, whoa, I can play music. When I did it, everything else just disappeared. I was focusing on something that made me, I don't know what it is, it's like a wave that comes over you, and I played music, and it was cool. Stood in front of the whole school, and I was like, whatever, I'll play music. And then whatever, every class just, whatever, I could play music. I went home every single day, and I played, like 3:30 to like 11 o'clock at night, I played music, and I practiced instruments, and that, to me, made school bearable, because like in school, I'd be like, just persevering. But then at home, I do the music, and that was the tipping point. So, but yeah, it was difficult. There was no overcoming. There was just a hit by a bus every day. Yeah.
For me, I don't. People say that like for photographic memory, there's no such thing as photographic memory. It's called having an eidetic memory, and that's what I have. I have an eidetic memory. I can see something, and I can just absorb it. It's in the brain, save as. Pythagoras
Apart
theorem.
from the diet sheet.
Apart from the diet sheet, Dan wrote for me 17 times in a row. So. I could take the information and absorb it. It was there. I knew it. I could recall it quite quickly. But everyone else in my class was just learning at a normal pace. So I would get in trouble at school purely because the information was there, lesson 1, page 1. I used to read the entire textbook for the term in a day. And it was in there. And I could recall it. And I could do the tests. And I could pass them. But everyone else was trying to catch up with me. And my school didn't want to fast track me because they thought I was retarded. Because of my ADHD. But so I would act up, I would get in trouble. I would have the information in here. I'd be like, okay, Pythagoras theorem, it's in there, let's go kick a football. And the teacher would be like, no, we've still got 45 minutes left of this class. I'm like, oh, what? Learn, you bastards. So we would struggle, I would struggle to get people to catch up with me. And that made me get into trouble so much. So for me, it was being able to find myself in an environment where I was able to take the information in, and I had to learn so hard. It wasn't a boundary I had to overcome. I had to fight through it to understand that people were not able to learn the way I do. I mean, some people have savant syndrome and eidetic memories and stuff, but some people just learn at a normal pace. And I had to do that. So what I would do, I would read the next lesson's textbook. And then I would read the next lesson's textbook when I got to that, and just so on and so forth. So I was always a lesson ahead of what I was actually in. And I was just taking it in, and eventually I learned to sort of calm myself down because I didn't realize at that time I was stimming a lot. So if you watch any footage back, you'll see me doing this with my hand a lot. It's like me turning a knob in my head, just like, let's answer this question like this, load the answer. And I wasn't stimming in lessons. I was just frustrated and angry. Until I learned to sort of have like a stress ball or a couple of those like the stones you spin around in your hand. Until I learned to get that excess energy out of me in that lesson, I was a nightmare to teach.
But I'd say like if anybody here is a professional working in the field with children or young people in an educational establishment, the thing was to recognize the issues and put a support in place. And the biggest change I had in academia was when I did my degree, is they allowed me special circumstances so I could go to have my exams done in a separate room. It helped me so much. I had a note taker so I could actually engage with the class and then have somebody, because I couldn't write very well. So if I'd had that support when I was in primary school and high school, it would have worked so much better. So I think it's identifying the people with the issues and offering a support. So if anyone is working in those fields, the best thing you could do to make that person's life
and it was at that point where we were seen as being in trouble ourselves, as in terms of we were having problems instead of us being the problem.
Yeah.
That's when we were able to really find some sort of system.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a horrible thing, and I will tell you now that I would say I've been through all kinds of things. I've had like family members drop dead. I've seen people die with cancer. But all of those were bearable. One of the most horrible things, I would never ever do primary school again in that condition. It was unbearable. I'd do anything I could to stay away from it. It was horrible. So yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, next question. I hope it answers that.
That was a great question. A great question. Anyway, you're good to go.
Next question. Okay, here we go. We got a question.
We have to dance for a little in between.
We have to read them out. You see,
They're getting to us. They're doing it in Spanish.
Have you written it down?
They're Satan's.
No, I know. No, that's okay. I'm just making.
That's why we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah, I was trying to see if the person had written it down so it would be in order, like if they had it. You talk to yourself.
Catch. Someone didn't put their hand up. You can find my invisible ball. Bring it back to me.
What if I don't find it?
I will not go home until I find it.
Yep. Okay, so my goals. Okay, this is how it works. So anybody who has Asperger syndrome here will know this. You'd be like, today, for this week, I am obsessed with motorbikes. Motorbikes is everything right now. And then, okay, so next week, I'm obsessed with Lego. Lego is everything right now. Next week is going to be, okay, computer software is going to be my thing. And I switch around all these things all the time. I'm like, God damn, I love all of these things. And so with having so many interests of obsessive type of focus, like heavy focus or hyper focus on interest, I managed to make those the goals. So it's kind of like having so many goals is a cool thing because I feel sometimes if I don't set all the things I'm interested in into goals, they get overwhelming and my mood dips completely. So by setting a goal, you start to create a reality, and when you create, you start to kind of feel really good, feel positive, and you get confident in something. And so for me, if I don't make lists and I don't start projects, if I don't start focusing on projects, my mood just dips, and it's horrible. And it happened about 2 weeks ago. I did a video on it on my channel where I hit this depression slope, and I was like, I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do. I'd been lazy, and I hadn't written out these projects. I hadn't done focus goals, and I just plummeted. So for me, having all of the different goals and focusing on all of them kind of simultaneously is key to keeping my productivity and my mind active and motivated. So I hope that answered that question. Did I go off in a
Yeah, you're all right. So I'm again, me and Dan are the opposite on everything. I do not have short-term goals in my life. Like, they change from minute to minute. I have long-term goals, like I want a house, I want a family, and stuff like that. And I know the steps I need to take them. But if I wake up in the morning and go, I really, really want to learn to play Jenga professionally, I will spend the entire day playing Jenga. And then the next day it's like, I wonder if I can bake this cake. And once the kitchen's been put out from the fire, I'll be like, I'm never going to bake again. So I don't have the list. Dan writes lists and agendas, and like whenever we have a meeting, he sends me something in advance, a PDF to like 4 pages of like, this is what we're going to talk about today. And he'll go through it methodically. Whereas I have another tab open on my computer where I'm, again, trying to find videos of alpacas climbing trees. So
this is a true story. This is exactly what happens.
The short-term goals for me don't exist in the sense, like, short-term builds long-term. A painting is many, many little strokes. But for me, I don't do the little strokes. I just go, that'll do. I'm going on break.
We actually had a project we were working on. It took us 6 meetings to get through 4 topics. So we spent 5 hours completely off topic. It was the worst.
I'm so good at getting Dan off topic now. Like, he stopped calling me when it's an important thing.
Yeah, I don't. I just sent him an email. I said, this is what's happening. Do it.
Yeah. So he'd be like, Alex, we really need to talk about this. And I'd be like, dude, look at this badger.
No, he's like, we need to build a go-kart.
This badger can backflip.
Yeah, and this is absolutely what happens. It took us about a year to make a podcast, and so
just 2 episodes.
Yeah, it was crazy
because the file was 8 hours long, and we're just like, well.
Who's going to edit that anyway? But
I'm going to go climb a tree.
But yeah, so I know it was good, but I didn't mean to go on digress there, but it was cool. Hope that answered the question. I don't know who asked the question.
Yeah, whose question was that? Have you ever built a fort in your bedroom just for like, why not? I did that the other day, so I'm going to tell you a very quick story. So I built a fort, and I was eating chicken, and I was watching Netflix on my iPad because I'm a baller. I'm amazing. And I went to go tell Facebook about this. I took a photo, like, it's me in my fort. And I logged into Facebook. And the first 4 posts were one of my best friends from school who was like, just had a new kitchen fitted in my house. Scroll down another time, a girl I once dated, like, guess what? My husband just bought me a brand new Mercedes. And then, oh, God, I think I've just gone off. I've just gone off a little bit. Hello.
No,
hello.
I can still hear you. You're good.
I can't hear me at all.
Oh, it's because, okay, we'll carry on talking.
Okay, this is gone. So all my friends were just like, look at my house, look at my car, look at my life. And I'm like, look at my fort. I built this. And then I realized that they're idiots. And I'm right. You know, and they should be more like me. Because there are people who see what I do and they see me and Dan do this and they send me a message saying, Alex, I wish my life were more like yours. And I'm like, but you have a house and a family and a child. That's what I'm striving for. But they're like, but you built this fort and it has a roof.
Do you know, the funny thing about it, Alex, is that album I said that went to #5 in Japan, when we recorded it, we rented out a house next to the studio because the label was paying. It was great. And so we went there, and Alex stayed over because he was producing the record. And I came downstairs in the morning, he built a fort out of all of the chairs and the sofa. I was like, what is going on with it?
I did. I took 2 sofas, 4 chairs, and I made a giant fort because Dan and I were sharing a bed that week because there weren't enough bedrooms.
We really were. We really did share a bed.
But then his partner came to visit him, and I was like, well, she's going to have to sleep on the sofa. And he was like, no, Alex, that'll be you. I was like, okay, I'll show you. So I had more fun that night, probably, because I was like, I'm going to make this fort, but I'm going to make it touch the ceiling.
He did.
Watch me while I touch the sky.
And it did, he did, and it was crazy.
So everyone came into the living room the next morning just to see me just like, you're all shuckers, and just
it was good.
hide back in my fort.
All right, we've got to keep going. We don't want to run out of time, so okay, next question.
Doobie-doobie-doo, doobie-doobie-doo,
Did you turn yourself back on?
Yeah. I did. That one's for the English speakers. Anyone sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Ja.
Okay. One more. Come on, we can do it. One more. You held one question. You were like, no, it's rubbish.
Yeah.
Ask it.
I'll tell you what. Okay. No, Alex. We'll go next.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we are going to go into another room at the moment. So if you want to come and talk to us, we'll be surprised, and we'll be in another room where you can come talk to us and high five us like this. Yeah.
Anyway, but we'll do it. We'll do it. Okay, we go. Okay, we're going to high five somewhere.
Freeze frame.
Okay.
Anyway. Come and high five us. Come and talk to us. And we're going to
hang out. Thanks a lot. Peace out. Okay, gotta get this out now.
Louder! All right, now quiet. Quiet.
Turn him off.
And loud. And quiet. And quiet. Hey, you're fine.